Dopamine presents the highly classified archives of the Eldritch Institution, a place that finds and contains the paranormal, the impossible, and the forgotten things that exist between this world and the next. Each file you're about to hear was never meant for public release. Listener discretion is advised. The lights above Mercer's pod buzzed, throwing thin white lines across his eyelids. Sleep refused him again. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw the mimic's face, his own face, peering back through the red containment light. Across the room, Jonas tossed and muttered in his own pod, the glass canopy fogging with his breath. The air smelled of sterilized steel and recycled fear. Mercer turned onto his side. The institution never slept, and apparently neither did its agents. Then the intercom cracked. Agents Mercer and Jonas, debriefing room 4. Now. Rise's voice, clear, calm, sharp as a scalpel. Jonas groaned, rubbing his eyes. She does know it's 2 a.m, right? Mercer sat up, the motion lights flickering on. For the institution, time's a suggestion. Let's go. They stepped out into the corridor, cold, metallic, humming with distant generators. Every door they passed carried a hazard sigil or a number they didn't recognize. Behind one, something scratched the walls rhythmically, like it was counting seconds. When the doors to debriefing 4 slid open, the room beyond was lit in sterile blue. Reyes stood at the table, tablet in hand, data streams flickering across the holographic surface. Her posture was perfect, military without apology. "Sit," she said. Jonas flopped into a chair. "Didn't think we'd get called in this soon." Reyes didn't look up. Neither did I. She swiped the tablet and the display changed, a frozen frame of a campsite. 3 tents torn open, snow around them stained dark, figures of maintenance drones picking through wreckage. Mercer leaned forward. "Survivors?" "1," Reyes said. "Barely. His body temperature was below freezing when retrieval found him. He's in isolation now, muttering about a creature that walked on broken legs." Jonas swallowed. "Wendigo?" Reyes' eyes lifted. "That's what the old folklore calls it. The institution calls it Subject E02. Energy readings match the same frequency spike that preceded the mimic's manifestation." Mercer exhaled slowly. "So the two are connected?" "Possibly." Reyes circled the table, her boots silent on the metal floor. "Which is why you're both being reassigned. You leave in 4 hours." Jonas frowned. "Already? We just got back." Reyes handed him a slim black case. Inside lay a polished new device, pulsing faintly green. "Updated scanners. They'll log any Eldritch signatures you encounter. You'll take the ECV-9, freshly calibrated since the mimic retrieval." Mercer studied the screen on the device, the data flickering like heartbeat lines. "You expect this thing to show up in the same region?" "Not exactly," Reyes said. "Satellite pings traced the anomaly to the Rockies, deep wilderness. It's been drawing movement. Animals, people, it's hunting in patterns." Jonas's expression darkened. "You mean it's planning?" Reyes nodded once. "And it's calling for something. We think it's using subvocal frequencies to communicate." Mercer felt the air tighten. "Communicate with what?" Reyes met his gaze. "That's what we're going to find out. You'll record everything you hear, and Mercer." She paused, something uncharacteristic flashing across her eyes. "If it calls your name again, do not answer." The silence that followed was heavy. Jonas's usual sarcasm died in his throat. Reyes turned toward the observation glass at the far end of the room. Beyond it, the faint silhouette of the mimic's containment prism pulsed red in the dark. "Dismissed," she said quietly. Jonas walked beside me through the hangar, a yawning stretch of steel and shadow. The air vibrated with the echo of turbines and humming lights. Rows of containment pods lined the walls like glass coffins. Some glowed faint red, others were dark. I didn't ask which was worse. At the far end of the hangar, the ECV-9 waited for us. Matte black, heavy-plated vise, its hull still marked with containment runes that shimmered faintly blue under the lights. It looked less like a vehicle and more like something built to survive the end of the world. Jonas whistled low. "Looks like they upgraded since the mimic." Reyes stood by the driver's side, tablet under one arm. "They did. The null core's portable now. If the containment field breaches, it should restabilize within 30 seconds. Jonas raised an eyebrow. "Should." Reyes ignored him and handed me a sealed folder. "This is everything we have on Subject E02. Read it when you can stomach it. The director wants a live sample." Her tone told me exactly how little choice we had in that. As we climbed in, I looked back once more. Through the viewing glass above the hangar bay, the director stood watching. I could never see his face. Just that dark silhouette framed by light, the faint movement of hands folded behind his back. Then the ECV-9's doors shut, sealing us in. Inside, the cabin glowed with soft blue lighting. The hum of the null core under the floor was low, almost rhythmic, like a second heartbeat. Jonas plugged the scanner into the dash, and data rippled across the screen in strange waveforms. He yawned. "Remind me again why we do this?" "Because the institution owns us," I said. Jonas chuckled, but it was hollow. We rolled out through the underground tunnel, the floodlights fading behind us. The road to the surface was a long, spiraling ascent, walls of rock passing by like the ribs of a buried giant. When we finally broke through, the night swallowed us whole. The mountains loomed ahead, dark, endless, jagged silhouettes against a bruised sky. The snow fell slow and heavy, each flake catching the headlights like ash. Jonas leaned back in his seat, half asleep again. The scanner pulsed faintly on the dash. I kept one hand on the wheel, the other near the radio. Static whispered softly beneath the hum of the engine. At first I thought it was interference. Then a word formed. Faint. Drawn out. Familiar. My name. Jonas stirred. "You hear that?" I nodded, lowering the radio volume until the word dissolved back into static. He laughed nervously. Probably just the institution checking in. "Yeah," I said, though my throat felt dry. "Probably." The headlights cut through the snow, catching something in the distance. Movement along the tree line. Tall, wrong, almost human, but not quite. It moved on all fours, then two, then disappeared behind a ridge. I didn't say a word. Neither did Jonas. We drove on, the silence between us heavy enough to drown in. The road narrowed to a single trail of compacted snow. The ECV-9's headlights caught the glint of frozen canvas and torn nylon up ahead. Jonas stirred beside me. "You seeing that?" I slowed the vehicle, the wheels crunching through ice. The scanner started pulsing faster, its readings spiking into strange erratic peaks. We came to a stop beside what was left of a campsite. 3 tents. One completely flattened. The others ripped open like the earth itself had swallowed them. A fire pit lay dead in the center, half covered in frost, surrounded by chairs that still faced each other like their owners had been sitting there just minutes before. Jonas stepped out first, breath fogging under the pale light. The silence was thick, the kind that makes every sound echo. I followed, keeping my hand on the scanner. The air felt wrong, heavier somehow. Every instinct screamed to get back in the vehicle. Blood trails froze dark against the snow. They led toward the tree line. The scanner's tone deepened, the screen flickering with new symbols, things I didn't recognize. Jonas pointed at the snow beside the fire pit. Footprints, human-sized but twisted, elongated as if something had dragged itself along the ice before standing upright again. He whispered, voice shaking. That's not human." I crouched beside one of the tracks, tracing the edges with my glove. "No, it's worse. It's learned to mimic one." Jonas looked back at the tents. "You think it's still here?" I glanced toward the trees. The darkness beyond the headlights seemed to shift like it was breathing. "Probably," I said. We moved slowly, scanning every surface. The trees groaned in the cold. Somewhere deep in the forest, a branch snapped, clean and deliberate. Jonas turned sharply. "It's circling us." I raised the scanner, trying to lock the signal. The display flashed red, a pattern of symbols I'd seen once before in the mimic's data logs. My pulse climbed. It's the same frequency, the same pattern. Jonas swallowed hard. Then it's calling. The radio cracked suddenly, a surge of static that filled the night. Underneath the noise came a voice, low, guttural, distorted by the cold. Not words, just the shape of them, the rhythm of human speech without meaning. Then, in perfect imitation, the voice said Jonas's name. He froze, eyes wide, breath caught halfway between disbelief and terror. I cut the radio, killing the sound. The silence that followed was worse than the voice. Jonas's whisper trembled. It knew my name. I looked at the scanner, the signal pulsing like a heartbeat. It knows all of ours. For a moment we stood in the snow, every sound amplified, the creak of ice, the distant whisper of wind moving through dead branches. Then something moved. The tree line split open just for an instant, a shape stepping into the edge of the light. It was tall, too tall. Its skin hung loose and pale, stretched thin over long bones. Its head tilted as it stepped closer, and in the hollow where its eyes should have been, light shimmered, red, alive, burning. Jonas stumbled backward, reaching for the ECV-9. I raised the scanner, locking onto its shape. The screen went white, then black, then blank. The creature screamed, not sound, but vibration, rattling my teeth, crawling down my spine. And then it was gone, slipping back into the trees like it had never been there. We didn't move for a long time. Finally, Jonas whispered, "Mercer, what was that thing?" I looked at the trees, still shifting in the wind. Not a ghost, not a man, something in between. The scanner rebooted, displaying one line of red text, subject recognized. And below it, my name. The forest went still again, the kind of stillness that eats sound. My breath came out in short clouds, loud against the quiet. Jonas swallowed hard. "Mercer, it saw us." "Keep your voice down." He looked around, scanning the trees. The beam from his light cut through the snow like a blade, but it found nothing. Just endless trunks disappearing into black. The scanner in my hand buzzed with feedback, a constant nervous tremor. Its display kept flashing between readings, symbols forming and dissolving like the device was trying to speak in a language it didn't know. Jonas stepped closer. "Is that normal?" "Nothing about this is normal." I crouched again, pressing the scanner to the ground where the tracks had been. The snow around them hadn't melted. It had frozen harder, a crust of ice that spread outward like veins. Behind me, Jonas's flashlight flickered. He slapped it and the light steadied. Then he froze. "Mercer," he whispered, "look at the ECV." The vehicle sat 20 yards back, headlights still cutting through the storm. Except now, the lights weren't steady. They pulsed. Once, twice, then dimmed completely. The hum of the null core dropped into silence. My chest tightened. That's impossible. It's shielded from external interference. Jonas backed toward it, eyes wide. Maybe it's not external. The radio inside the ECV cracked to life. Static again, then that same voice, clearer this time, whispering through layers of distortion. 2 words, drawn out, low, almost pleading. "Bring it back." The snow around us shifted, the wind rose, carrying with it the faint sound of footsteps, or maybe bones clicking together. Jonas gripped my arm. "It's close." I scanned the tree line. The forest rippled as if something massive moved between the trunks. The scanner's readings spiked again. No shape, no coordinates, just the faint outline of a human figure flickering in and out of existence. "Stay behind me," I said, like hell. Jonas pulled the containment flare from his belt, thumb hovering over the ignition. Something flickered at the edge of my vision. Tall, skeletal, the same impossible shape bending forward like a question mark. Its mouth opened wider than a human skull should allow, its chest glowing faintly red from within. I felt the vibration in my bones before the sound reached my ears, a low, broken howl that seemed to rise from the ground itself. Jonas stepped back. "It's warning us." "No," I said quietly, "it's learning us." The creature stood at the border of light, head tilted, studying. Then, without sound, it turned and slipped into the dark, leaving only the wind behind. We stayed frozen for minutes, maybe longer. Then the ECV's lights flickered back to life. The hum of the null core returned, steady but weaker, like something had taken a breath out of it. Jonas exhaled. "You think it's gone?" I looked down at the scanner. The display now showed a new line of text beneath my name. Seeking. The forest didn't move for a long time. Just the wind pressing through the pines and the snow hissing against the hull of the ECV-9. I climbed back inside and started the engine. The dashboard lights flickered weakly before stabilizing. Jonas dropped into the passenger seat, breath still shaking. "We should call it in," he said. "Not yet." Outside, the snow began to fall heavier. It came down in thick waves, swallowing the campsite, erasing the footprints, as if the land itself wanted to forget what had been here. I pushed the throttle. The ECV rolled forward, treads grinding through the ice. The scanner on the dash still pulsed red. Not steady now, but rhythmic, like the thing was pacing us from the trees. Jonas stared out the window. "It's following, isn't it?" "Yeah," I said, "but it's not attacking." "Then what the hell does it want?" The radio answered for me. Static, a whisper buried beneath it, same voice as before. Now louder, clearer. "You took it from me." Jonas flinched, grabbing the dial, but I stopped him. "Don't," I said. "If it's talking, it's tracking the signal." The lights outside bent strangely, trees warping into shapes that shouldn't exist. The engine struggled against the cold. Then the ECV lurched, hard. Something slammed against the side, throwing us both sideways. Metal screamed as the entire vehicle tilted. Jonas yelled over the noise. "What the hell was that?" The radar lit up in front of me, a massive shape moving parallel to the ECV. Too big, too fast. It wasn't trying to overturn us. It was guiding us. I gunned the engine. Snow burst in waves as we broke through the tree line. The facility's beacon pulsed faintly in the far distance, a red halo through the storm. Jonas clung to the dashboard. "It's herding us back." Exactly where it wants us to go. Another impact. The left side dented inward, metal bending like foil. The null core whined in protest. Red warning lights spread across the console. I shouted into the comms. "Reyes, this is Mercer. E002 is active. It's following us back to base." Her voice came through, distorted by interference. "Mercer, keep it away from the perimeter. Do you hear me? Do not lead it home." Jonas turned to me, pale. Too late. Through the rear camera, I saw it. A tall figure running behind us on all fours, easily keeping pace. Its body blurred in the snow, its arms impossibly long. The glow in its chest burned brighter with every step. The institution's floodlights appeared ahead. The outer gates began to rise. Reyes' voice cut through again, desperate now. "Mercer, divert east. It can't reach the lower vaults." The signal died. For a moment, all I could hear was the howl outside, a sound so deep it rattled the air inside the cabin. Then, as the gates opened fully, the creature stopped. It stood at the tree line, just beyond the light. It didn't attack. It just watched. The ECV rolled under the archway. I killed the engine. Jonas sat there, hands trembling. It let us go. I looked through the rear monitor. The figure was still there, frozen in the storm, staring. Then, slowly, it raised one arm, long, crooked fingers pointing directly at the institution. Then it vanished into the dark. Jonas exhaled, head in his hands. "Reyes is going to kill us." "Yeah," I said, "if that thing doesn't get there first." The scanner flickered again, faint static forming letters across the screen. "Seeking, child." I turned the scanner off. For once, silence felt worse than noise. Gates of the institution closed behind us with a shuddering clang. The world outside vanished into snow and static. Inside, everything hummed with quiet containment. Reyes was already waiting in the debriefing room when we arrived. Her tablet glowed against the dim blue light, lines of data streaming upward like rising smoke. Jonas looked like hell, his face grey, eyes hollow from exhaustion and fear. I didn't look much better. We stood dripping meltwater on the floor while Reyes watched us in silence for a long moment. Then she spoke. "You made it back alive." Jonas let out a laugh that wasn't really a laugh. "Barely. That thing followed us halfway home." Reyes tapped her tablet. "We know. The outer sensors caught readings, unprecedented energy fluctuations. Then nothing. Whatever it is, it stopped at the tree line." I leaned against the table, arms crossed. It wanted something. It said it wanted its child. Reyes finally looked up. "We've confirmed the signal, the same resonance that surrounded the mimic before containment. It's connected." Jonas's voice cracked. "Then it's going to come back for it." Reyes didn't answer. Her eyes flicked toward the observation glass at the far end of the room. Beyond it, deep in red light, the mimic's silhouette shifted. Its form was still, but I could swear it was listening. She exhaled. "You both need rest. Medical will run checks in the morning. The director wants a full report at 0800. Jonas muttered. "The director can wait till I can feel my legs again." Reyes' gaze softened. "Just for a second. Get some sleep. You've earned it." We left the room in silence. The hallway lights dimmed to night mode, soft amber lines guiding us toward the barracks. The hum of the containment vaults echoed under our feet, like a heartbeat buried beneath concrete. Inside the sleeping bay, I sank into my pod, the glass canopy sliding shut with a hiss. Across the aisle, Jonas was already half asleep. For a while, I just stared at the ceiling. The institution always smelled the same. Ozone, metal, and something faintly sweet, like the air after lightning. The scanner still pulsed faintly in my pocket, a red heartbeat that refused to stop. I closed my eyes. Just before sleep took me, I could swear I heard it again. That voice, buried deep inside the static of the building itself. Bring it back. And then, only silence. The lights in the sleeping bay dimmed to a low amber pulse. Jonas was already out, half snoring behind the glass of his pod. Across the aisle, I stared at the ceiling, listening to the hum of containment fields winding down for the night. Somewhere far below, the mimic's chamber whispered, metal shifting, pressure valves sighing like something breathing in its sleep. I let my eyes close. The institution was still alive around me, dreaming of the monsters it kept. Or maybe it was the other way around. The intercom clicked once, a soft burst of static, then silence. And in that silence, a voice so faint I almost convinced myself I imagined it. Bring it back. The lights flickered, then darkness. You've just listened to Case File 02, the WENDIGO'S Echo, one of many recordings recovered from the classified archives of the Eldritch Institution. If you're still awake, let your mind drift. Know that Mercer and Jonas are resting, for now, within the institution's walls. But remember, not everything they contain stays silent forever. Turn out the lights. Breathe, dream carefully. Coming soon, Case File 03, The Mimic's Father. Join us again inside the shadows of Synthetic Dopamine presents the Eldritch Institution Archives. Listener discretion is always advised.